Okay, so who has absolutely no clue who I am? Okay, I better do a little bit of an explanation then. My name's Heidi Sawyer. I've taught the subject of psychic development in its various forms full-time for the last 15 years. It might even be more than that now. I lose track. I'm a Hay House author and presenter, so I do presentations for Hay House, Louise Hay, Wayne Dyer, those kind of people. I'm sure you've heard of one or the other of those two. What I'm going to show you this evening is how you utilise something called the life codes. I'm going to give you a little bit of it's going to be a very quick view of it. I will warn you now, I get very excitable. Okay? Hence Linda's comments about me blowing lights and kettles, which is a thing of psychic energy. Now, for you to have an interest, to be giving up your evening, you will be what's termed as a sensitive. Okay? And as Linda says, she doesn't want to be one anymore. Thing is, you're stuck with it. Okay? You came into this world with a highly sensitized nervous system. So high sensitivity is thought to be developed in the womb. So you came in on this particular vibration. What it means is that you feel the emotions, the sensitivities of other people far more deeply than the average person. So you can walk into a room and you know what mood someone's in, and you've only seen the back of their head. And in actual fact, you probably haven't even walked into the room, and you can feel what's going on. You can feel things often before they occur, because you are termed as an intuitive sensitive. So you are a sensitive. So how that impacts you in your life is it can lead to a very highly developed sensitivity that doesn't go away. It grows as life progresses. When you step onto the path of self-awareness within that, that sensitivity becomes something that is a very positive thing, rather than what we've perhaps seen it through our life as a disability. Because a lot of high sensitives would like to be less sensitive. The fact is that if you start to embrace it and you allow it to evolve through your intuitive senses, it becomes something that other people envy almost about you. Because you have a much higher capacity for compassion. You have a much higher capacity for understanding other people. You have a much higher capacity for getting the feel for something before it starts to unfold. So you will have the reputation in your family or your surroundings or your work environment as the wise one. You will find that people come to you to ask you of your opinion. They will also come to you when you don't know them. So you will be sat on a train, on a bus, minding your own business. Someone comes and sits next to you and tells you their entire life history and all the things they've been worrying about. And you come away going, What just happened? I feel exhausted. And they get up and say, I've never told anyone that before. I don't understand why I've just told you that. The reason that they do that is because you literally have a radar that says, I am far more understanding of you than the other people around you. The issue is that who understands you as the sensitive? You're there for everybody else, but who is there in their understanding for you? So what happens over a period of time is that sensitivity can become something uncomfortable in terms of your health. So for a lot of sensitives, they tend to have, well, in actual fact, figures show that those who are termed as intuitive sensitives have a 30% higher risk than the average, than the national average for autoimmune conditions. Autoimmune issues such as thyroid, diabetes, when you haven't really done anything other than look at a biscuit. Things that are related to the endocrine system. So high sensitives are very prone, again, to putting on weight, for instance, around the midsection, over and above other people, because their hormones tend to get upset over a period of time. When everyone else seems to be A-OK, you look after yourself, you eat well, and you can't understand why your body seems to be doing odd things and everybody else's seems to be A-OK. Who's had that scenario? Okay. Who's got autoimmune issues? Okay. In a room full of people this sort of size, there should be about one. Put your hands up again. There's an awful lot more than one. Okay. So this is how high sensitivity shows in our physical lives. What I'm here to show you is how to manage that better, and especially how to manage that better over the next 12 months. Because what is coming in now, in general, into life, into working scenarios, working situations, is a respect for high sensitivity. You would have perhaps been called over the years too sensitive. Oh, you're just too sensitive, it was a joke. No, I felt it. I felt it deep in my core, in my solar plexus, to the extent that now I get very uncomfortable around confrontation. To the extent I feel confrontation does something to me physically, it actually hurts. It deeply hurts me in I can't stomach it. I find stress overwhelming. Okay, does that make sense? All of that can alter to the extent you can begin to observe rather than absorb. And when you get to that phase, people feel a deep respect for it because they would like to be able to have that skill. It can't be learnt, you are it. Okay, does that make sense? So what I'm hopefully going to be able to introduce you to this evening is how you can utilize that high sensitivity so it's something that you are proud of rather than something that you're trying to escape from. Where you can go into things and you can help rather than fix. Whereas you've perhaps felt for a long time that your duty has been around fixing rather than helping. Does that make sense? Because you have to try and settle down this intensity that goes on for you in the solar plexus region. But also, your thoughts and worries about everyone else keep circulating around your head, and you don't seem to be able to get rid of them. And you think, why am I so responsible? The reason you're so responsible, definitely as an intuitive sensitive, is because it is true. You are picking up the thoughts and feelings and emotions of others, and they're not necessarily in your life or haven't been there for some while. Does that make sense? But it doesn't mean to say that you're immune to their vibration. You still feel it, and you still feel it deeply. Okay? So what I'm going to do this evening is give you a feel for this, which is called the Tree of Life. Okay? I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview of how the Tree of Life works, so that you can see things from outside of yourself. Because when you can see things from outside of yourself, life becomes a lot easier. It also becomes a lot easier for you to be able to harness that intuitive sense, which is, as I said earlier, is becoming something that is deeply respected within the external world and coming in to work environments. Okay? You may have already seen how mindfulness is being introduced left, right and centre into things. 10 years ago, mindfulness wasn't really something that was on people's radars. Okay, do you understand? That kind of stuff is very easy for you. It's also coming into organisations a realisation that people who are right brain dominant, or tend to be right brain dominant, which you will be as a high sensitive, actually have a fantastic instinct for things, and they're very good at creating team cooperation over and above left brainers. Okay? But for the last X amount of years, it has been the left brainers that have been more respected than the right brainers. Okay? Now we're beginning to see, as technology develops, that the people skills of the right brain is what is missing and desired. The only thing is that those really high sensitives have lost their confidence because they feel that they've been disregarded, pushed to one side, that their view hasn't been important for a long period of time. So you've learnt to shut up. Because sometimes, and I'm very guilty of it, it kind of falls out of your mouth, the truth, because high sensitives have to live by a truth. If they are not in their truth, they become extremely distressed, and they become ill. And they become ill to the extent that that stress becomes such a high factor through their system that parts of it starts to break down. So you will be on, otherwise you wouldn't be sat here listening to me, you will be on your journey towards your truth. Some of you may have found that truth, and others of you are desperate for it, but it doesn't seem to be connecting in your environment right now. And some of you will be feeling alone. Some of you will have gone through recently, or are going through, the feeling of wanting to go home, but you don't know what home means. You may even have gone through a feeling of being isolated, even though you're surrounded, because you feel that those around you don't seem to understand how you operate. And you're desperate to make those connections with other people who have some kind of understanding of you. Does that make sense? So, what now is about, and this year was the start of it, okay, from here on, it's going to get stronger. So, the demands of the external world and your particular skills are going to get stronger and stronger. And you are going to be pushed at a soul level to allow your confidence in. Because you've had for too long the conflict between the personality self, so that's the everyday self, the everyday world, and the soul vibration. And they're having a little bit of an argument, a little bit of an argy-bargy, because the personality wants to keep the physical body safe. Okay, so it thinks we have to do things in safe ways. But the soul is pushing you to be a little bit more open to your own sense of truth and self, which may be completely different to what your history has been. So you're starting to go through really quite heavy and strong cycles. And some of those can be deeply worrying and upsetting in terms of parts of you coming to the surface that you didn't even know existed. Does that make sense? Some of the things that I speak of will resonate with you, other parts won't, okay? Take what makes sense to you, put to one side what doesn't. What I say is not the thing, it is a thing, okay? It's an interpretation that may well resonate with parts of your life, okay? So,